This video is brought to you by Nano.
Welcome back to Morning Brew with the homeowners. I'm your host, Dmitry Lipinski. This is the best show for the homeowners, for those who are trying to make better homeowners decision. Anything that relates to hiring a contractor, picking materials. Today, we're talking about what happens when insurance companies, contractors, and homeowners fight over insurance claims. I have the best co-host for this show, Sam Cook, public adjuster from Minneapolis. Actually, we have 4 cases with the 4 different outcomes. The first story is about a roofer who's out $12,000 after State Farm dispute. Sam, what's the story?
Oh, these stories are all too common nowadays. So let's see. The Vencat's roof was torn up by wind back in 2021, but State Farm said only 38 shingles need fixing. It was less than their deductible, so they closed the claim. Their roofer, David Garner, fought State Farm for years with the help of a public adjuster, and finally in 2024, 3 years later, State Farm finally agreed the roof needed full replacement. Garner did the work and turned in all the documents, then State Farm refused to pay the full cost using a clause in the policy that said the work had to be done within 2 years of the last. Garner says that's unfair since State Farm itself delayed approval for more than 3 years. Now he's stuck with a $12,000 loss. He won't go after the homeowner, who he says acted in good faith, but it leaves him without many options. Have you heard that happening before?
I did. How common is it? Like you said it's common. Like, is it like
it's common. Yeah.
It's common?
Yeah. So most insurance policies are going to have either a 1 year or 2 year timeline to get the recoverable depreciation. So recoverable depreciation is the amount that's withheld until you actually do the work. And it's your policy, right? A lot of people forget that an insurance policy is a contract you signed with the insurance company. So you said, hey, I agree with this, and I signed it. People don't realize that. They're in their agent's office. But in that contract you signed, it says you'll either have 1 or 2 years from the date of the storm to get the money. And for State Farm, typically it's 2 years in most states. We're operating only 9 states, but across the majority, it's my understanding, it's 2 years. So when they take 3 years to finally approve the roof, once you go do the work, that recoverable depreciation can't be collected. Ultimately, the issue for me with this is that State Farm also tends to have a suit against us clause. And it says that you will not bring suit against them for, typically it's 1 year for a hail or wind claim or 2 years for any other type of claim, right? So if this is a wind claim, which it seems to be, you have 1 year from the date of loss to sue them. Well, you're like, well, they probably don't have to sue them. Well, here's the thing. If they're refusing to pay that money out, what are you going to do? You're past the timeline where you can sue them. You could file a complaint, but the state's not going to do much about it. As a homeowner, you can complain and leave bad reviews, but that won't do it either. So ultimately, yeah, for them, for the insurance companies, yeah, they drug it out for 3 years, but there's no way to go back after them for it.
So it looks like they intentionally do it because it's like, hey, if we drag it for 3 years, we don't have to pay the depreciation. If they do it on hundreds of claims, has it been proven by anyone that it's intentional?
I don't know.
Deny, delay, defame, right?
I think anyone in our industry is like well aware that it happens, but to actually put together a use case, I would say it's hard to prove that it's intentional from the insurance companies, but there's way too much of a pattern for it not to be, right? And we see this from initial inspections where they're writing for just the bare minimum, right? I've met on site with an adjuster that's like, yeah, I know that we're going to have to pay for XYZ, but we won't pay that until you prove it. Now, to a certain point, I get it, but they're like, we'll pay for these 10 shingles. We're not going to pay the rest. You can submit, these documents, repairability testing, ITELs, matching photos for certain states, stuff like that. And they know from the start they're going to have to pay for it, but they make you jump through all these hoops and prove the loss to the fullest extent. So yeah, this is a very, very common issue.
So big question I have, why not count after the approval? Because my understanding here is they open a claim as a repair and then they supplement it, right? So technically they approve the replacement 3 years later. So why not 2 year period starts at the 3 year approval? Mm-hmm. So like we approve your claim, you have 2 years to do it. Because it seems to me that, hey, we approve it, but we're not gonna do it. Like it's too late. So we approve it to deny it.
Yeah, it's there's common sense and then there's the way adjusters think. That's what I always say. Like it's totally different. From their eyes, I've had multiple, right? We deal with a lot of appraisal work and we have ones we get to the appraisal panel for State Farm specifically. 8/11/2023 was a huge storm in Minnesota, right? A ton of houses were damaged and a lot of them are State Farm, and State Farm had that 2 year suit against us clause, which they also apply to appraisal. And so the last 2-3 months here have been nonstop State Farm appraisals. And every time I'd get out there, the opposing appraiser and the umpire would be like, we would bring up the issue of like, hey, they're probably not going to get depreciation. Like, we need to schedule it soon. Otherwise, if we get past that 2-year mark, they're not going to have time to get it done. And the opposing appraisers and the umpires would always bring up to me, they're like, well, they have 2 years since the date of loss. How is that not enough time? And it's like, well, most homeowners don't know they have damage right away, right? Not until someone comes knock on their door, does an inspection, tells them. So that's called 6 months on average. And then it's another month to get the insurance out, get the check, all that. And then to go the back and forth, I mean, you're already eating up a good chunk of that time. So I think this is going to be more and more common. But to your question, how do we prove it? It would require a lot of people banding together.
So in this story, it looks like the roofer is the one who is not getting paid, because if homeowner cannot pay him, can a roofer still charge? I guess it's a contract on the roof, because if you're the roofer and you're promising homeowners that we will do the work for contingent on approval, well, how does contingency work? Because technically speaking, they did approve, so it's owed to them. Except if insurance company is not paying you, then contingency goes both ways, right? Like if insurance not paying you, I cannot come after you.
Yeah.
That's the promise to the homeowner.
It would depend, because a lot of contractors use, to your point, like insurance proceeds contracts.
Yep.
So like, hey, we're charging what the insurance proceeds are. But it depends if those are written like, hey, we're charging this much of what the insurance is paying out, or we're charging the amount that they approved the roof for. Because ultimately they did approve the roof. Let's say it's $20,000. They approved the roof for $20,000, but they're only paying out $12,000. So it would depend on the verbiage in the insurance proceeds contract. My biggest issue with this is that they had a public adjuster on them, and it doesn't seem that the public adjuster notified the contractor or notified the homeowner that, hey, this is past that deadline.
So you're blaming public adjuster for this miscommunication mess up? So in other words, it could be preventable?
It could be preventable, and they should have ultimately, if you're a roofer, you're a public adjuster, you're a homeowner, if you're past that deadline, reach out to the carrier before the deadline. But if you notice you're after, reach out to them and say, hey, if I get this work done, will the money be paid out? Because there are carriers out there and adjusters that will look and go, yeah, you know what, we did something wrong. We'll go outside of our normal agreement. We'll pay that money out and get it in writing. But the fact that that doesn't seem to have been done is not a good look for the public adjuster.
Is that one of the reasons to hire a public adjuster? Can public adjuster truly speed up that process? So instead of waiting 3 years and collapse all the coverage, can they speed up to get it within that 2 years?
For sure. Yeah. So I own a supplementing company where we do supplementing for contractors. And then I also own a public adjusting firm. The public adjusting firm, we get responses significantly quicker. And when we don't, we can request management. We can call in and actually talk to the same level the homeowner can. We can file complaints. So we're able to get stuff moving away that a supplementer or a contractor kind of gets put in a chokehold for.
Where do you think the industry is going? Because I feel like one of the best business models out there is a roofer is a roofer. So he provides the estimate from his company, from his business. Hey, you have a problem, we're going to fix it. If insurance pays for it, it's a bonus. So like your roof costs $22,000. We'll get it like as much from insurance as possible. So let's say they pay you $12,000. Good for you. Half of it covers. You only owe half of it. So it's a good bonus. I think it's the best model. And I think that's where it's truly going. But a lot of roofers are not equipped to do that kind of sale. They can only sell free stuff, which is not even a sale. What kind of sales pitch is that? The only thing you have to sell is deductible, and many of them can't even do that. They'll eating even that. So you're selling $30,000 roof for $1,500, and you still cannot charge that.
Yeah, there's a lot in the sales processes, right? There's a reason there's so many sales trainers in the roofing space, because it really is a broken process going door to door. Hey, it's free. Hey, insurance will cover it, right? Oh, your deductible's only $1,000. Ultimately, I think to answer your question, where the industry is going, it's going to be, for the most part, it's going to be contractors are still going out, doing the door to door, getting clients, but a lot of them are going to take anything that's denied or not approved right off the bat, and they're going to be handing off to public adjusters. We already have that trend. We went from taking just the worst claims to, all right, now we're taking denied claims. Now we have contractors that are like, hey, just every claim is going to go your way first, because we're not a PA and we're not here to discuss claims and deal with them, right? And so they'll just refer the homeowners to a PA, which I think is the inevitable path, which is really, really unfortunate for homeowners. I mean, it leaves them, they're really getting the short end of the stick with it.
Well, what a story to start the show today. When we come back, we have another one, completely different outcome. Roofer did get paid in full, but he demands insurance check from the homeowner anyway. Do not go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Are you stupid and think you need a new roof? You don't! You just need Go Nano.
Really?
Your roof has been left battered from years of hail damage, granule loss, and other random threats.
That's just Ned.
Hey, you tell your dog not to piss on my plants!
Don't worry, Ned, he didn't. That was all me.
Yeah, I thought it was you, one of your stupid kids!
Go Nano uses nanotechnology to strengthen your roof from the inside out, slowing down aging, protecting it from UV rays, granule loss, hail damage, and extends the life by 15 years. Guaranteed.
15 years. It's pretty good. It's longer than any woman's one been willing to stick around with me.
Other companies use soybean oil or bio oil and only offer temporary protection. Go Nano protects you at the nanoscale.
So you don't have to buy a whole new roof?
No! That would cost you thousands. Go Nano can extend the life of your roof for 85% less than a new roof.
Well, that would leave me a lot of money for that moat I want to build.
Oh no, not a moat. If anyone tried to get to your house, it would very briefly slow them down.
Stay on your side of the road.
A roof without Go Nano is like a car without seatbelts, or a castle without a moat. Get smart, get Go Nano.
And we are back. Second story of the day. So this roofer got paid in full and still demanded homeowner's insurance check. Here's details. Max Sutter White hired Dave Sutter to replace his roof. Insurance first denied the claim. So Max paid $23,000 out of pocket. Weeks later, insurance sent him a surprise $9,000 check. That's never happened. But hey, sometimes those insurance companies pay out claims they should not be paying. And that's part of the problem too, guys. That's when Sutter texted saying he wanted to cut off the insurance money. Then he sent a formal lawyer's letter asking for $6,000. Max refused and filed a complaint with the DA. Lawyers who looked at the contract says it's clear Max had already paid in full. This isn't Sutter's first run in either. He sued homeowners in the past but skipped lots of hearings. He must have decided this was a losing battle too, since the case never made it to court. Do you see that happening often?
No, that's called fraud. So yeah, the insurance company denied the roof. So the homeowner was like, all right, I'll pay out of pocket. Paid full retail price. Like he did pay for the full roof. And then the insurance had sent him a check, which I don't even know how the contractor found out about it. But they sent him a check, which ultimately was part of that, amount he already paid. So he should recover that.
Yep.
I researched into the story, and the contractor's stance was, well, I should ask for the full $9,000 you got from your insurance, but I decided $6,000 was fair since the work's been done.
Here's what I want to discuss with this story. And if you're a roofer, comment below if you're watching this on YouTube, because I want to hear your opinion. It's very controversial, and we talk a lot about retail estimates and insurance estimates, and why insurance estimates are higher than retail, because a lot of roofers deal with it at the door. When they go to the homeowners and they pitch them to work with their insurance companies, they'll say, we're not going to give you the price, we'll work for insurance proceeds, right? Retail, and the homeowners will say, no, give me the price. And they'll say, well, I'm not going to give you the price because we work for insurance. So usually it's a little bit more. And I want to explain that really quick. The reason is because you have to add another department. One, you have supplementer, public adjuster, whoever is involved, it does cost more. Your roofer is not greedy by asking it. He literally will spend more money on that claim. Retail, it's in and out, 50% down, 50% at the end, or 30, 70, whatever. So your roofer is not always greedy. But now, in cases like this, when the roofer gets paid, let's say $20,000, but he finds out that insurance paid $28,000, right? Do you owe him that $8,000, especially if it's a retail contract? For me, this one is a greed example, right? So this roofer would not go after the homeowner if he would not know that they got like $9,000 extra. What do you think, Sam?
Yes, it's a bizarre case. The main issue I see is a lot of contractors, and I get where they're coming from, but they treat a lot of homeowners' claims like it's their claim. And I've heard contractors, owners of companies, people in the company being like, well, that's our claim. It's our claim. It's like, that's not your claim. It's not your house. It's not, you're not even a public adjuster.
Good way to put it.
And so they look at it as if it's like, well, that's my money. And it's like, you wouldn't have known you had damage if I didn't knock on your door. I didn't climb on your roof. And it's like, you're right, but you also pitched that as part of your service. And now you're coming back that, you're this holy thing. And so I think it's an ego issue is the first issue. But to your point about the pricing, yes, I believe insurance roofing should pay more than retail roofing. No different than if you go to the dentist. If you go to your dentist and you're paying with insurance, they charge insurance a higher cost than if you're paying out of pocket because you need a supplementing department, not to mention your accounts receivable department, and you need documentation and photos like you would never believe. Your sales reps going out there multiple times, right? You're doing all this back and forth. Then you have to explain the homeowner. So it's like, no, I mean, ultimately, you should be getting 20, 30, 40% more on an insurance job because of the hoops they make you jump through. And as long as they're okay paying it, which they are, they know Xactimate is higher than retail and they're okay paying that because they understand the additional layers that go with it. But for this roofer, he's not owed that money. He didn't do those steps. Did he go out and have him file a claim? Sure. But it doesn't seem like he did anything additional to get more than what a retail price for this roof would have been, right? He did his work. They said, oh, claims denied, shook hands, wrote a contract, wrote an estimate, and that was it. It was done. Homeowner paid the full thing. There was no supplementing. There was no accounts receivable. It doesn't make sense.
I also want to send this message to the homeowners. For those of you who thinks that your contractor is greedy if he works with insurance companies, let me just tell you this. Insurance company, usually, it doesn't matter if it's State Farm, Allstate, it's average size of the company, I think, is like $50-60 billion. Those are giant corporations. I promise you this. Insurance companies never overpay on the claims. That does not happen. So when you look at the check and you're like, $29,000, it seems like too much. My roofer is greedy. I guarantee you it's probably 30% less than the market value. And it's probably should be $35,000. Like, I guarantee you, I've seen hundreds and hundreds of claims, and the chances of your insurance companies to overpay for anything is slim. Usually it's other way around. Usually your roofer gonna be fighting, and maybe he will get a little bit more on one end, but then he will get underpaid on, gutter removal. Like gutter as a trade never gets proper amount all over the country. I talk to contractors all the time. Insurance pays, $4.50, and we pay gutter guys $6-7 a foot. Who do you think cover that difference? Well, we cover it because we will get a little bit more on the roof. So we call it even if it's not even. So please treat your contractor with respect because he's going through a lot of headaches. Now, sometimes, and this is once maybe in 1,000 cases where insurance just does something what they're supposed to do without fighting them. So I think in this case, it's a rare case where a contractor did not do, to Sam's point, did not do what they were usually do, right? And the contractor, treated as a bonus, just like, why not, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I think to take one step back to the insurance companies never overpay, right? Like I deal with hundreds of claims a year, and out of, let's say, 500 claims in a year, 475 of them are paid what they should or underpaid, right? Most of them underpaid. 25 out of 500 would be what I would consider slightly overpaid, right? They may have added an extra event. They might have added a little bit more waste than what I thought would have been normal, right? Like it's not like they're way overpaying. If they're overpaying by a little, well, that math doesn't really add up. If you underpay, 95% and you overpay 2%, it's not proportional. So yeah, if your contractor is telling you they're not paying enough, 99% of the time they're right. And even if they are paying a little more, understand that he's taking a beating on dozens of other claims.
Also, I want to send a message to my contractors. Know what business you're in and what business you are not. So many contractors are just confused. They're trying to get absolutely everything. Like this guy here, just because you can, I absolutely hate when contractors treat their homeowners like they're a saver. But I got you approved. I got your claim. Without me, you would not even know you have it. It's BS. What you do, everybody can do. Like there's so many good contractors out there with good attitudes. The homeowner don't have to sign with the first contractor knocking on the door. So usually contractor will try to pressure them. Sky's falling attitude. Like, hey, we're not going to file your claim today. Your roof started leaking tomorrow. No, if it's a hail damage, you truly have months to think and to do your research and pick your contractor of choice. Who are you comfortable to do it? So stop scaring your homeowners and tell them that you are the one. You might be the great guy. I'm not against you, but this fear tactic and this egoistical claims that Without me, you would not get new roof. Not true. You sometimes you don't even have to have a contractor for insurance company to approve it. Like you literally can call adjuster, they come in and give you the check, and now you're shopping a lot for the contractor. A lot of people do it that way. So contractors, you need to have attitude adjustment how you deal with the claims.
I agree. The other part is you mentioned, knowing what business you're in and then maybe kind of think about the business of being a contractor, right? And for this guy to chase after $6,000 additional, do you think this homeowner is going to leave him a good review? Or do you think he's going to go out of his way to make sure he doesn't screw other homeowners, right?
It's lose-lose.
And so this goes back to something we've talked about in a previous episode about bad reviews and, how much of an effect that has on business. And for this guy, ultimately, if he just said, hey, you know what, we're good, didn't chase after it, he might have got a referral from this job. And I guarantee what he'd make on that referral would more than make up what he was trying to recover from this. And so knowing what business you're in, it's also important to know and think past Friday night. I see a lot of contractors, very short-term, very narrow window, thinking one claim, not think about the long-term effects of this.
Very, very true. And also think about that referral and that reputation. This is one of those cases when Warren Buffett says it takes 20 years to build reputation, 5 minutes to ruin it. Last week, we were talking about negative reviews. You go after the homeowner, suing them over one-star review, you might ruin your reputation for life. If this story airs on radio, on TV, on YouTube, wherever, if people find out in your community that you're doing that kind of stuff, guess how many referrals you're going to get. I mean, sooner or later, like like in law, you only need one case, someone to lose, and boom, nobody else can do it because now we have a precedent. So if you have one negative review that you're doing this, anybody like that review can cost you 10, 20, 30 potential jobs because people will read it. It's like, nope, not hiring this guy. Too aggressive, too not fair.
Yeah. Yeah, the supply and demand, to your point of contractors, is not what most contractors think it is, right? We call Minnesota the land of 10,000 roofers because it is. And so for you to think, well, one bad review won't do anything, or, this one customer I should go after. And it's like, you got to understand, a homeowner's not going to go and read through all your comments and really think about it. They're going to look and see one bad one that's going to stand out at the top, and they're going to go, all right, move down. And there's going to be a list of 200 contractors ready for their business. You have to be very mindful of that.
Another thing with insurance claims and this amounts, because we're dealing with the thousands of dollars, oftentimes you will be getting felony if they prove that it's some kind of fraud. I know a contractor out of Illinois. He took a deposit from lady and did not do the job for like 3 months. She filed a report. He had the previous felony and they locked him up for like 30 days. Mm-hmm. So like if you already have some kind of record and you took someone's deposit and they actually come after you, and we're talking about $6,000, $7,000, you might be liable. So it's not that innocent. When we come back after the break, we have one more story, which is crazy. 11 felonies, 2-0. Roofing salesman fights back. Don't go anywhere. I have all the spicy details when we're back. And we are back covering some crazy stories from conflicts between insurance companies, homeowners, and contractors. I want to remind you that this show is brought to you by Directorii.com, the safest way to find contractors. It's pretty much a bonding company. If you hire a contractor off Directorii.com, you are covered in case if that contractor files bankruptcy or if that contractor takes your money and runs away. Now, Sam, what's the next story today?
All right. So it's an interesting one. So Trevor Smith worked door to door after Hurricane Ian, signing homeowners up with an AOB, or assignment of benefits contract. That meant the roofing company could handle the insurance claims directly, a practice that was still legal at the time, but has since been banned in Florida. Investigators accused Smith of exaggerating roof damage, faking dates of loss, and even posing as a contractor or public adjuster without a license. Prosecutors filed 11 felonies in 2 counties. And then months later, both counties threw out the charges, saying they couldn't prove the case. Now Smith says the investigators made up facts and pressured homeowners into saying they were victims. He claims the whole thing destroyed his career and finances. His lawsuit is now in federal court, and his lawyers say the sky is the limit. Could you imagine being a contractor doing? I mean, presume this guy's completely in the right. He didn't do anything wrong. Imagine actually going about it and think about the prosecutors coming out and interrogating your customers. Right? Customers, no matter how many times you explain the process, can still get confused, especially with insurance work, and they could very easily get them to say things that would frame you as the bad guy as a contractor. So it's actually scary to see that they could have got this far and caused this much damage to him without having any proof or enough proof. It's
Florida is not messing around. Guys, comment below what you think about Florida. It scares people. Dan Young, who just recently opened like 6-8 months ago, maybe a year, location in Florida, a contractor from Iowa, and he's like, Florida not messing around. He sends me these screenshots and articles about roofer getting locked up, but I love it. I love when Florida just puts you in jail. We have a crazy case with a Mary Jane from North Carolina this week where this woman contractor steals $700,000-$800,000 from subs, and she's walking. Like, if she would be in Florida, she would be locked up. So I kind of like it. Now, what I don't understand here, why did they drop everything? Because obviously he was doing something. I'm not saying that he's guilty or not guilty, but when you have 11 felonies, like, it just, something is not right. And what I've heard is it's very hard to prove, because like for people have been sending me videos of roofing vandalism, like from the street, right? It's hard to see. It's hard to prove. What are you doing there? So it's pixelated, it's big. Like, I would argue that he has easy way out, because it's not that he is innocent. It's because it's hard to prove.
Well, let's not forget what's happened in Florida, over the last decade here is, like it mentioned in the stories, that, assignment of benefits was legal and no longer is, right? There's been a huge crackdown on contractors in Florida, and a big push of it is coming from insurance companies threatening to leave, and the majority of them have. So now you have the state of Florida trying to do everything they can to keep insurance companies there. And so they're going out and pressing on these contractors. So were some of these prosecutors pushed into doing investigations that were illegitimate, or forcing homeowners into saying stuff to try to put a public eye that contractors are doing bad things, so they would vote in a way that would help the insurance companies? I mean, you could go a real conspiracy theory on it, but for them to, like your point, chase that deep and then totally drop it, I'm starting to think it was more just the state pushing them to do things that maybe didn't fully align with what's going on.
If I were them, and I think the common tactics there, like with enforcements in general, so prosecution will always start higher, like 4, 5, 6 charges, will drop few, still to charge you with something, but because they need negotiating power. This kind of stuff, exaggerating roof damage, faking dates of loss, even posing as a contractor or public adjuster, it's very, very hard to prove. It's not what you know, it's how you're going to prove it. I see, videos on YouTube all the time where contractors like handmade damage, like crisping shingles, right? But what are you going to do? Take that video, take it to court, and say he's crisping the shingles. Technically, that's what everybody in the industry knows. We just talked with Chris Zimmerman on podcast that 50% of the damage in the roofing industry, according to a lot of contractors, some people say 70% in markets like Atlanta, is handmade.
If I remember, it wasn't necessarily that 50% was handmade, but 50% were illegitimate. So maybe old damage and stuff that wasn't actually
should not
blisters.
Should not be filed or manipulated any way, shape, or form. Because think about wind damage, right? Like, how do you prove that shingle was not broken by the wind or by the inspector? Like, I lift the shingle and I crisp it. You go after me. Prove to me that I did not do it. Wind did it. Like, it's impossible. So I think in this case, it's extremely hard for prosecutors to go all in. I think where they messed up is they should fought for 1 or 2 things all the way to the end. Otherwise, it looks like they're agreeing to their guilt. Like, hey, we're guilty. We should not touch this guy.
Yeah, it's going to make it really hard for them to stand up in court and, have a leg to stand on when they say, yeah, nothing. He's totally free and clear. We couldn't prove anything. Well, then how are you going to defend yourself when he comes back after you for damages? I mean, you're going to have nothing.
Well, his lawsuit is now in federal court, and his lawyer says the sky is the limit. I kind of like that confidence, but I hate it too, because looks to me that they're gonna try to take advantage of it. But my question to you is, what should be reasonable punishment for the contractors for insurance fraud? Like, should we pay fines? Because it's very easy to become a contractor in Texas, and I mean, like in so many states, it's not even.
Well, there's so many layers of what fraud can be. Is it creating damage? Is it filing stuff that you know shouldn't be filed, wasting the insurance company's time? Is it adding things to your estimate that you're not actually going to do? Is it going to be invoicing for work that you didn't do? I mean, there's so many layers to it. Is it, you know, being buddy with adjusters so they pay for your stuff? Like, there's so many layers.
Corruption. But either way, if it's a proven, like, and we know that you're doing it, like, for example, let's do one, but like, let's say you forge checks. Like, forging checks, it's actually, how do you call it? Like, there's not a wire fraud, but like mail fraud, wire fraud. It's something. It's weird category. If you forge the signature, you get prosecuted for sure, right? But a lot of contractors do it. We've done it, and it's not that hard to prove. So, what should be punishment for something like that?
I mean, I think the punishment for creating damage should be either revoking the license, but the other part of it would be you should be paying for that roof. Like, there's no question you should be paying for that homeowner's roof out of your pocket and not with your crews. You don't get to go do that work now. You should be paying a different company, one of your competitors, to go do that work, right? Creating damage.
I'll step you there, because you arguing the roof needs to be replaced, but you created damage, so now you're replacing the roof.
Yeah, and I think that's how it should go. I don't think... You know, it doesn't matter what damage is there. If you go ahead and vandalize a roof and cause more damage, instantly you should be paying for that full roof. I don't care if you crease one shingle. Now, to your point, it's hard to prove and it's hard to document, right? Because if you're a contractor and you have a wind damage shingle, it's already wind damage. When you deal with adjusters all day and seek now reps who just don't know up from down, right? They're complete inexperienced in this industry. They come out, they take photos, and you get a denial letter a week later. You're going to get sick of that. And at a certain point, you're going to be like, okay, I need to make sure this damage is pronounced. You know, I see contractors with hail hits. They'll lick their thumb and wet the spot so it's darker in the photos. So when the person behind the desk makes an assessment, they actually see the spots and pay for them, right? Is that damage? Is it illegal? Are they just prettying up the damage that was already there? Or are they creasing shingles that were never creased? And how do you differentiate? That's very, very hard.
You know what I hate the most about insurance claims is how unreasonable homeowners and contractors on the older jobs, like very old, like when you have like 20-year-old shingle, 25-year-old shingles, right? At the end of its life, and you trying to argue that, no, this is fresh and like it's discontinued. And there are good cases. Like if you have 3-inch hail and it smashed it, of course, insurance companies owes for it, right? But if it's like half-inch hail, like one missing shingle. So now you're telling me if you have an apartment complex and you have one missing shingle and 25-year-old roof, your insurance company owes $1.5 million because one shingle blew up, right? So the homeowners, I personally feel like, still should be responsible and accountable for maintenance. Like, what are you doing to maintain the integrity of the... I actually kind of like the insurance push for replacement. I hate that they're dropping people, but I feel like, you know, they don't want to insure something old. Understandable. Like, I don't have to do business with you, right? Like, you can't make me business with you. You don't want to replace your roof? I'm not going to insure you. As easy. So kind of stand behind it because we are unreasonable. No, I have 25-year-old siding and I have this spatter here. Replace my siding. Well, do you agree?
As a public adjuster, everyone's going to think that I think everything's damaged. And yeah, one shingle means a full roof, right? To your point, there's cases there are. I was on the phone with someone this morning. I mentioned to him, I was like, we're not really a public adjuster firm. We're a claim screening service. Because about half the claims that come in, we stop at the door and we go, this isn't a claim, right? This isn't worth pursuing. Do the repairs. We have a flow chart that we train all of our team on which routes to go with it. And a lot of routes on that come back to do the repairs and move on, right? Not everything needs to be a full roof replacement. I agree that if your roof is at, 1 year from falling apart, probably replace it. Is the economy in the place where most people can afford to do that? Probably not, but it's part of homeownership, right? Everyone knows homeownership comes with maintenance. It comes with repairs. And I think a lot of people for a long time, to your point, thought, oh, once it gets old, you file a claim and get a new one. And that's just not the case anymore. But I do think insurance, come from public adjuster, I see them screw people on a lot of claims. So I'm not giving them the benefit of the doubt on it. there are a lot that are owed that they don't pay. But yes, there are times where they shouldn't be paying.
Love it. I want to finish this segment with advice to the homeowners and contractors together. Industry is changing. Our cameras are changing even better than better. So the contractors, if you're like this guy, Trevor Smith, so when you work door to door and you go on roofs, just have the attitude, have that mindset that you're always being filmed. Even if you're not, you never know who's filming you from their cars. You never know who has door, like, industry is changing, and when you have a 4K or 8K footage of you doing something shady, this will change. You will be prosecuted. You will get caught. And the homeowners, if you've seen someone doing something funny on the roofs, just film it. Film it. Maybe send it to me, Roofing Insights YouTube channel, or text me 612-558-4888. I am collecting all the videos from all the damages, and we need to stop it. This is not acceptable. When we come back, we have one more story for you today. $20,000 roofing shock, how insurance gaps cost big this one homeowner. Don't go anywhere.
Before Job Nimbus, we were a contractor that used paper files for everything.
We were trying to work in Excel. We had things handwritten on scraps of paper, napkins, text messages. It was all over the place.
You would not believe this, but my desk used to be piled in papers left and right.
Now that we have Job Nimbus implemented into the company, it's day and night difference in our processes.
So now our guys are able to sign contracts right there with the customer on their phone, automatically uploads into Job Nimbus.
And I can take pictures in the field if I need to. I can keep track of all my contact information. I can successfully and succinctly move somebody through the whole process without being lost and without being confused.
I feel like it gives us the tools to grow. Like before it was like we want to grow, but we don't even have a process to teach anybody. So now we actually have a path with it.
I would be completely lost if we hadn't found Job Nimbus.
We are back. Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. We have last story, also spicy, like all of our stories. Sam, what's the story?
It's actually kind of gut-wrenching, like to think of this happened to someone you knew. So a 73-year-old cancer survivor is fighting to keep her home after a roofing job turned into a lawsuit. Sarah Taylor says a salesman promised her roof would be covered by insurance except for her $1,000 deductible. But the roofing company charged her $37,000 after her insurance only approved about $15,000. Now, Florida's roof specialist has filed a lien and is suing her for a $21,000 difference. Court records show the company has gone after at least 19 other Polk County homeowners the same way. The state attorney general is investigating, and the BBB gives the company a D+ rating for a pattern of complaints. Taylor's case heads to trial in 2026, but she says she's worried she could lose the home she's lived in since 1987. This is an issue in our industry that needs to stop. I've actually had cases come across my desk in the last 60 days where the roof is not approved, the sign's not approved, whatever part of it's not approved yet, and the contractors went and did the work. And they're like, well, it's going to get approved. Oh, well, we have enough photos of it, right? It's fine. They can pay the out-of-pocket difference without really explaining to the homeowner what's going on. And then they go ahead and do the work and come back to the homeowner and go, oh, yeah, it turns out insurance didn't pay for it. Now you owe for it, and it's craziness. It's absolutely fraud.
It's fraud if it's not in a contract, if it's deceiving. That's why you always have to have a contract, and contract has, I like that contingency way, right? Like if insurance doesn't pay for it, you don't owe it, but it has to be in writing.
Well, typically they'll have the proceeds contract, and then once the roof's approved or once they're ready to do the work, they'll have a addendum to it, typically called a scope of work or whatever. Every company calls it something different, but they'll have you sign an addendum to it that says, hey, that's null and void now. We're doing this work for this price plus any supplements approved by the insurance company. And so it gets around that idea of like that protection that they pitch you at the door that, oh, an insurance proceeds, we can't charge you. The second you sign that second document that null and voids that first one, then yeah, you're on the hook for the money. And that's likely what happened here. I don't know the exact story, but they pretty much went to her and said, oh yeah, it's pretty much approved. The breast will probably get approved. Sign this and, insurance will pay out the rest.
What I hate about this story is, seems to me it's a business model because they have 19 other Polk County homeowners the same way. So it pretty much tells me that the business, the training, their organization. That's how they train their sales reps. This kind of stuff does not happen by accident. It's probably like, hey, go sign up as many jobs as possible, promise them to to open the claims and insurance will pay for it. If not, we're going to get money anyway. So very, very sad. And to do it for elderly, and I think elderly, what I like about this country, people protect elderly. Government go after those cases. If you go after elderly people, you will be prosecuted, almost guaranteed. Like kids and elderly are protected minority of our society.
As they should be. And this is, some of those cases that came across my desk, it's like, the contractor's like, well, they're going to owe for it. They owe for it. I had no choice. The work had to be done. It was leaking. Okay, well, you can tarp it, and you can go back every month and continue to tarp it and continue to invoice for it. And if those invoices don't get paid, they'll get paid out once the roof gets approved. Right? There's other routes than just going and replacing a whole roof and then saying, well, it's due, right? It's going to be paid. Especially we talk about a lot, how quick the industry is changing, how tight insurance companies are getting. It's not like it was 10 years ago.
100%. Well, I want to speak to those contractors who are doing this kind of stuff and those who think that any publicity is good publicity. Listen, if you do anything to a child, you will never get out of it. For the rest of your life, it will be on you and on your record. And the same goes with elderly. If you take advantage of very, very old person, 70s, 80s, 90s, right? Someone who is like on very limited income and you took advantage of them, I guarantee you that publicity will hunt you down for life. You will never get out of it because first of all, you took advantage of a very vulnerable person. You will never convince anyone that you are in business helping other people. That's why we're all passionate about it. We will make case out of it and you will be talked about. And this is what news like, this is what people, because we all can relate. We all have moms and grandmoms that we're trying to take care of. Like we're all gonna try to go extra mile to punish you. And even our prosecution and DAs and like same thing. We all can relate to it. You will be stopped. So this is like very bad business decision.
Yeah, I agree. And that's one of those where, originally when I got the first 2 sentences of the story, I went, well, this could have been a mistake, right? Maybe they just misunderstood. And maybe once again, it was the depreciation deadline there passed. Maybe they thought there was coverage where there wasn't, right? Like could have been a mistake. But 19 times, like to your point, that is, you're probably preying on people that shouldn't be preyed on. And you're making a consistent pattern of it, which is, what's the term for that? Once you make a pattern of crimes.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Serial
criminal.
Scammer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, unfortunately, in our industry, we have too many big players who have it as a business model. I remember covering Leaf Filter, like $1.5 billion company. If company goes to like trade shows, home shows, there's a lot of elderly people who have a lot of times in their hand, like where they advertise. They're literally a company going after that demographic. They just go after it. And I remember I covered Leaf Filter story, and Leaf Filter charges like $9,000-$10,000 just for covers, right? And I've talked to at least 3 caregivers to those people, and they're calling me like, Dmitry, my mom or my aunt or my grandmother have no ability to pay. We paid for roof $8,000. How the gutter covers paid $9,000. Like there's no 90-year-old out there should be paying $10,000 for gutter covers. Like I believe there's a little piece in hell where it's a little bit hotter than the rest, where these kind of businesses will go after we're all done here.
Yeah, it's just a bad practice. Yeah, ultimately, if you're a contractor and you do anything insurance related, you should have a public adjuster you have a good relationship with that you can ask questions, make sure things are covered, have them review stuff. Secondly, do not do the work if it's not approved. And unless the homeowner is fully okay paying it out of pocket. Like one of our earlier stories was the homeowner's like, hey, they're not paying for it, but I know I need a roof. I'll pay it. Fine. Done. That's okay. But that doesn't seem to be the case here. If the homeowner's not fully understanding, like, hey, they're paying out of pocket, insurance isn't going to reimburse this, do not do a full roof when half's approved and expect it to be done. That's just not the landscape anymore.
I also want to give marketing advice to all my business owners out there. Be a good storyteller. When you see stuff like this is your opportunity to spread awareness. Like, for example, if you're a roofing contractor, if you work with insurance claims, if you see that insurance companies is denying, someone who cannot afford it, like those kind of stories need to air all the way to the top. Do the press release, interview them, make it public. Let's help elders. If you see someone is taking advantage of them, maybe you're the contractor and you walk into the house and you see that person who's signed with someone thinks they should not be signed. Maybe you call their caregivers. Maybe you educate them, like, hey, your porch should not be $60,000. You should not be signing this kind of contracts. Let's help those people. Let's be good guys, but also let's give bad publicity to those stories. I remember reading a story in Florida. 92-year-old woman who died in a house after the hurricane. Last 2 years of her life, she lived in a home with a removed drywall because it was flooded. Insurance company was denying it for years. And literally, think about it. Like, if that's your mom, you know how older people, they're always clean. There's always flowers. And imagine if last few years of your life, you live in a destroyed house because the insurance company did not approve the claim. And I was thinking, I was reverse engineering there. So I'm reading the news, horrible story, right? Very tragic. People on fire, like, how could you do it to that person? It was like truly like mold growing. And then I thought, you know what? Someone took it to the news. Someone did press release. Someone just did an alarm, and someone is now aware that this is taking place. And I absolutely loved it. So if that's you, if you see it, if you see something, say something. That's why we do this kind of stories on this radio. Not to bash someone, but to help someone to be aware of the problem.
Yeah. And ultimately, I mean, for a good wrap up of it, there's a lot of contractors do it the right way, right?
Exactly.
I have a lot longer list of contractors that do stuff the right way than I do ones that do the wrong way. It's just the wrong ones can spoil it for everyone. So no, most contractors are great. Most of them are doing it the right way. And I think a lot of them have good intentions. Just a couple like this that really, to your point, if you see them doing this and hurting everyone, call them out.
Well, the thing about here, we have options, right? If I would be a good guy and I would have a homeowner who's 73 years old and tells me limited funds, limited income, but they have $15,000, I guarantee you there's a lot of things you can do to the roof for $15,000. You don't need to do work for $37,000. I mean, I can't even imagine. Like, how do you go from 15 to 37 and just bill them at $21,000? I mean, average income in the United States is $39,000, and you billing someone like half of that amount for $21,000 just because you want to make a little profit, like what, $5,000-$10,000 profit on your job? I mean, you have $15,000. That's a pure greed. Work with it. Say, hey, we can't do the whole thing, but we can do this, this, and this.
I agree with that. Was a really good point about what repairs you could have done for $15,000. There's a lot of people out there that are starting to realize that roof repairs can be a better business than roof replacements. Even there's a demand for it. Most companies won't touch it, and for $15,000 you could have probably resolved the vast majority of the issues, if not all of them, and left the house in a better spot without chasing after a homeowner like this.
100%. And on that note, we're going to wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for being with us today. I hope you learned something. I hope you like the show. If you do and you watch us on YouTube, comment below what you think, and we'll see you next week.